stumbled into this, of course, by accident. In '98, I was riding my bicycle and suddenly a 7,000-pound tree fell on top of me, leaving me paralyzed from the waist down. So it does follow the Americans with Disabilities Act, but I go beyond that. I go into universal design, which is another strategy way beyond the basics of the 1990 ADA law.
My husband is a commercial architect, and so universal design is one of his focus areas for corporate, because that's what he was saying, that people don't think about it beyond just the ADA rule. That he's like, universal design is good in every setting, every house.
That doesn't mean the whole city is inaccessible.
No.
What it means is you can't be there if you have a manual wheelchair and expect to be able to get around freely. So that's why my recommendation to my client was to let people know in advance as they register that we're going to supply scooters to anyone who needs them at no charge. And suddenly I can't even see the mashed potatoes that are in the bowl. So they're way up high, and it's like I have shepherd's pie, and I've got the meat, I've got the peas, and I've got the carrots. And then I go away and someone goes, "Don't you want any mashed potatoes?" And I go, "I don't even see any mashed
What
potatoes."
mashed potatoes?
They're out of they're up here. Let me get them for you.
So you're like,
who doesn't benefit? It's a universal concept to put things within reach, and we don't want anything out of reach. And that goes to also the registration area. When someone is registering for their badge, why does the registration counter have to be so tall? What does that do for everyone? And I noticed on the side that the communication between the participant registering and the person who was the staff behind the counter was a better interaction, because the eye contact was better, the conversations were better. You weren't hiding behind a computer or another counter sometime.
So it got me thinking too, and I have a couple comments. It got me thinking, gosh, I'd love to see the study, the data behind how quickly people were able to check in, because I think that it probably had no impediment against people that may be taller than me, or people that have a taller purview, and yet allowing that detail allowed everyone, with the exception of with no exception of where their purview is from, to move as quickly through there. So it's probably more efficient anyway, while also being accessible and just a better experience. And
they actually rented carpeting for this exhibit hall, and I could roll on it. It was not that difficult. Now, they could have done without the carpet, and I had suggested that before when I was at the PCMA conference in Columbus for the convening leaders. They had no carpet in the exhibit hall, and they said, "Man, we saved money. Now we're more sustainable. They don't have to throw carpet away." If there was a table there where I was going to interact with a virtual reality experience, or pick up their brochures, or pick up some of their giveaways, it had to be so that I could enter the booth unencumbered. No steps, no thresholds, no thick carpet, no chairs in the way. If they had brochures on the back wall, I should be able to get to that back wall. It's true. The convention center restrooms are very clearly labeled and very accessible, except to get into them. And here's the dilemma. The fire department does not want any door stops on those doors, so that the air doesn't travel and the fire doesn't travel. And so there's kind of an interesting dilemma there. If I can't get in and use the restroom because I'm in a scooter and I can't open the door, then I've got to wait for someone to open that door for me.
When you're consulting on event accessibility, where do you start?
Start with the registration. How are they organizing the registration on their website? What questions are they asking? What data will they be collecting? So that they're doing it in a proper and respectful way. And why is this door locked? The answer was for security reasons. Why? so that the homeless don't come in.
Yeah.
That was not a good answer.
No.
Not at all. The
Right.
homeless could get in the revolving door, and if there's homeless population, there's got to be some other strategies and intervention to work with that population so that. All right, let's try it. The low-hanging fruit would be knowing who your audience is. If you're an association planning a meeting, you've got to know who's coming and what needs to happen to make that a good experience for them. And so asking the right questions during registration and following up with everybody. And
What are some of you mentioned the questions that you have to answer in order to know the audience. What are some of the absolute must-have questions that have to be answered?
Well, you can add a checklist there in terms of wheelchair mobility or scooter mobility or dietary or religious restrictions. So there's a whole host of things that could be added as a simple checklist. And then what can we do to have you fully participate in this conference?
Oh, I like fully participate. That's a really good, instead of what other, right?
Yeah.
What do you need?
Or special. We don't want to say special accommodations. No, what do you need to fully participate? And
That's
we'll look that up and put that in our budget.
I love that because some people probably do leave events thinking I got to participate in 60% of what went on here, right? And when you start to unpack it, right, that percentage might slide up and down depending on how the conference is set up and some of the needs of an individual. So yeah, I fully participate. I love that. Yeah.
Can you comment on tech accessibility? Anything that you could add or just your perspective?
There's tools out there to help now. And this is an example again from this conference. For the very first time, they contracted with a company called Wordly, Wordly. And they are a company that has perfected artificial intelligence so that captions can be on the screen of your mobile phone.
Oh.
So every single breakout session, every plenary session was hooked up to Wordly so the participants could do a QR code snapshot on their phone. They would hit the word attend as they went into the room, and when any of the speakers spoke, every word they said appeared on their phone screen, and they could switch it in any one of about 50 foreign languages.
Really?
I think when you were talking about universal design, and we talk about digital accessibility as, good accessibility is good user experience. And, what you mentioned earlier kind of fits that as well. It's not just digital, it's physical. So if you make the experience better for everyone, then it's just going to be a better user experience for everyone. So
Period. Simple.
Well, the future for me is that universal design will just be good design, and it won't be a need to talk about it. And accessible design won't be a need to talk about it because everybody says that's the way it should be. And we mean special.
Oh, special, right. That's one. Are there other words like that that are just not helpful? We should avoid.
Well, I like it when we say a person with a disability rather than a disabled person. That's just language. So thinking in terms of how that language is perceived. If you're writing an insight, not everyone would tell you on the registration that they needed something. So if a gentleman came who was hard of hearing, would he have registered that he's hard of hearing? Probably not, because he doesn't see himself as a person with disability. He just can't hear very well. So he doesn't identify at all. And then the sign language interpreters are there for those who ask for a sign language interpreter. And here's the take on that. I interviewed the sign language interpreters after the plenary, and I said, have you had any feedback from the audience? Oh yes, this man came up and said he was hard of hearing, and he knows American Sign Language, and he appreciated the signing. But he had never registered that way.
When you were saying feedback earlier, Rosemary, do you ask people, do you recommend to your clients that when they're doing their session surveys, do you flip that question around and say, were you able to fully participate in our conference? Like,
Yes.
do you like to catch it on the other side too?
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
That's my advice. I've got lots more to give you. And so here's your assignment for those who are watching or listening, is to look at more information from me. And it's all free. It's on my website. It's simple. It's rosemariespeaks.com. ROSEMARIESPEAKS.com. So this topic is well documented with articles, with podcasts, with videos, and information so that you can take this forward as you plan your next association